music, customary music to play. Yes. From the beginning to the beginning.
Yes.
Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Don't mind him, he's feeling cool.
I don't know why.
Well, since the two of you decided to go to the part of hello,
Yes,
I mean, someone has got to help you guys.
To do something
Oh, yeah.
different, right? This is you questioning the norm.
Oh, yeah.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. It's a wonderful day. I had to even actually, I haven't told you guys, but I need to tell you guys what happened to me today. Because I was driving to work. I saw normally sometimes I buy plantain chips on the road, right? And so this guy, so I was thinking to myself, I'm sorry. I was thinking to myself, I should buy plantain chips. And I remember that I had plantain chips in my car. So at that point, I saw somebody on the road who I remembered is a guy that I buy plantain chips from time to time. And he saw me and he ran after my car. So I wound down saying, I'm not buying. He said, Auntie, wind down. And he removed 2 packets and he gave me.
Wow.
And he said, bye. I was like, oh no.
Wow.
I mean, he really, I just said, thank you, God. You know, that was like my gift from the universe
I'm
today.
Chris Ross. Okay. And Ola Ba. Hello, Shane.
What part of the country are you from? What's this?
We're not national.
Because you sounded full and in just
We're not national.
anyway.
Hi, Auntie Mish. Hello.
Hello, everybody.
So yes, anyway, that's what happened to me today. My name is Adiola.
That was very brilliant. I'm not sure anyone. Well, I don't buy regularly, so you're already a customer. So, but that was quite brilliant. And you see, those are the little acts of kindness that makes you know that we have a lot of good people in this country. Because that guy, I mean, sometimes I wonder how much do they make from,
Do you understand what I mean?
So have the art to give out to, shows that if you commit more into that guy's hand, he will think of other people. Yet you have some other people messing up the brand of the country, stealing money, becoming special advisors to governors and all,
you shaking the table.
I know,
well,
right?
I mean, you don't know, and you are wondering, and the governor is saying he didn't know what the guy does for a living. I mean, so what special advisor is he advising on? What's the advice? Say special duties. Now we know the special duties. Anyway. Anyway, my day has been very, very active. In between, I did a lot of meditation today because I've been, my system is a bit tired, so and usually when I get into that, so I just do a lot of meditation. Spend time listening to Becoming Supernatural by Joe Dispenza.
Okay.
And that was a brilliant book. It was talking about the 8 energy centers. I mean, the chakra, I've known about it, but I mean, it just talked about, what to watch out for. How sometimes, so for example, the first energy center is your sexuality, which is the place of creativity. And part of the things it said is that if you are finding, if you have someone who is not creative at all, you want to check their disposition to sex. And if they've been a victim of child sexual abuse or anything before, you want to check out because it blocks that energy center. So then the second energy center is a tummy. Yeah, that talks about that. And the second energy center is what controls your back. That when you're having backache, you want to check your relationship. You want to check your support system. If they are still
carrying too much
if they are still intact and all, then it talked about the third energy center. That talks about your will and your power. And the fact that you it's also the center that controls your love and your ability to fully express yourself. That when you have someone who is battling with low self-esteem, it shuts down that third energy, and on and on. And you could literally relate some of the things you feel to the shutting down of those energy centers. Then they talked about blessing the energy center. I mean, it was really, really
the one that you breathe from down here up.
Yes.
Leave it here.
Yes. He talked about the last energy center, which is the eighth one, which is like 40 inches above your head, and that's the center of epiphany, where the things you are now receiving are not things within you; they're not things you have learned. You know, that's we call it invasion. You know, so I mean, it was pretty cool. You know, I love to learn new things every now and then. You know, so
he's one of my teachers.
Oh yeah, you know, I never joke with Joe.
He's one of my teachers too. So today, what are we talking about?
All right, guys.
Buki is our leader.
Yes, we are following.
So we are expecting a guest. She's experiencing serious network issues. I hope she can still join us. But we're going to carry on the conversation like we normally do. And today we are talking about boys.
I'm even very I couldn't wait for this episode. Like I've been talking about it. We only talk about girl child. What about the boys? Because we're growing these girls to be phenomenal, powerful, and unconditional and confident. Who are they going to end up with? So if we're not doing this for the boys, I understand, yes, there's money there right now. So all the narrative is going there.
Money where? So that I can follow the money.
Women, funding for women, women empowerment, all them stuff. But who is then catering to the boys, you know? And I think that's really important. So today is, you know, it was like I spoke this day into
being. So here we are. Hi, Mama. Hello, everybody. So welcome. International Boys Day it's usually celebrated on May the 16th of every year.
That's Monday.
And it was, which day was it? Monday, right. So it's the whole concept of the initiative of the International Boys Day, or the International Day of the Boy Child, is to celebrate the positive elements that boys bring to their families and communities. And it also highlights the issues and challenges that boys face as they develop.
Yeah.
So, boys' lives matter.
Yeah.
Boys' lives matter. You know, from time to time, we have this conversation about, you know, everybody's focused on the girls now, who's focused on the boys, who's training the boys to become men, because we're putting so much attention on the girls, forgetting that those girls are going to grow up to meet the men that have not been trained from boyhood. Well,
that's if they want to marry, because you know you have the men as scum kind of community.
Yeah, but they're not as That's still not as large a community as the traditional.
Even though they still go and demand for sperm donation somewhere.
But it's still a small community compared to the number of girls who are it is drummed into their ears, and by the time they get to 21, 22, 23, they're already asking, they want to marry, their parents are already asking them grandchildren, you know, and all of that. So it's still a small community. I think it's still a small fraction of course, I know as years go on, it will reduce, it will become bigger. I mean that fraction of
they're just deceiving themselves because they can't do without men anyway.
Yeah, but not doing so. You're talking about the married folk.
If they give back to a boy,
but there are many women who may not end up getting married, but are in relationships.
That's what we're saying. So on one hand, you say men are scum, don't have anything to do with men. On the other hand, you want to get pregnant. You know, so the semen you're getting it from a woman, or where you're getting it from. So again, it's all.
Yes. But the thing is, if that's in that category, yes. But there are women who will decide that I don't want to marry, but I want to have a child.
No, that's fine. Right? But when you have a boy child, what are you going to do?
You have a boy, exactly.
Who is going to grow to become a man?
So
who will become a scum?
That's the conversation.
No, he will not become. Hopefully, if you listen to us,
that is the conversation. Saving the boy child is a critical discussion. Because they're just as important as the girls. And of course, you know, I was having a conversation with someone yesterday about how I said I feel like this whole, you know, women whole you know, I feel like it's not a scam, but like an agenda. You know, pump money into this whole women thing, and to the point where you now have to start pumping money to save the boys. Like we've
But that's the
diverted.
agenda, isn't it?
I think so. That's. I honestly think
You need
so,
to create an
anyway.
imbalance for justification for future funding.
Yeah.
So that's the way we roll. I mean,
So once we leave, so at some point it will then become okay.
Save the
let's
boys.
now save the boys, right? And then now let's put money in. But we started save the boy first. People should remember that.
No, we didn't.
Hashtag.
We didn't.
Okay,
We didn't start
is
saving.
this lady?
Maybe she
Is
did
our
it.
guest.
You'll be surprised to know that there are actually several. I mean, I was looking on Instagram. There's actually several communities, for mentoring and grooming boys.
Okay.
Yeah, there's several communities. It's just
You just
that
need to speak
it's just that the
louder.
conversation is not.
because there's no
it's
funding
not
for them.
loud.
Where will you get the
conversation
funding?
isn't loud.
So you need funding to make it loud because money is the volume.
Well,
My friend says everyone has a voice, but money is the volume.
one is the volume. Wow. So let's talk about PF. You are a boy.
Well,
you're now a man.
Which
but
one is
you
he?
started
Well,
as a boy.
Are you assuming I'm not a boy?
So who is a boy? Let's start from there.
Who is a boy? A boy is
God.
just a younger masculine expression of humanity.
younger masculine
Yeah,
expression.
humanity. That's what a boy is. It's as simple as that. Because a boy, you have to be a boy before you grow into manhood, or malehood. Because manhood, it's humanity. That's humanity. So humanity is expressed in two gender: male, female, boy, girl. So it's just the younger version of humanity, the masculine version of humanity expressed. What am I even saying? Is a masculine expression of humanity. It's as simple as that. That's
a younger version.
a younger version. That's
There you go. So now, why are boys treated differently? Now,
what do you mean treated differently? How?
okay, so let me go from culture and religion, right? The boy is treated differently from the girl,
Yeah.
because the woman is meant to be the homemaker, whilst the boy is taught to be the cash finder,
Yeah.
right?
And the breadwinner.
And the breadwinner. And the boy, I mean, of course, if you then look at the boy then becoming a man, you then say, okay, he's meant to, one, be the breadwinner, two, he's meant to show masculinity. He shouldn't be vulnerable.
He shouldn't show emotion. He shouldn't cry.
Why is he crying?
Yeah.
And that if you cry, you're weak.
Yeah.
But it's okay for the girl to cry.
To cry.
So why do we train boys differently from the way we train girls?
Well, you say you can never answer that question appropriately because we were not born in the Stone Age and we didn't live in that era.
Right.
What I always say, and that's why when I teach on parenting, the first question I ask when I teach men is, who taught you about manhood? They don't know. So from my father, who taught your father? Who taught the father?
Right.
So you would see that someone maybe in the year 9 BC, who created the software that was passed down to everyone, in an era where women were not beings to be respected, where women were things to be used and a means of reproduction, like a production factory or something like that. So you can never tell how we got that, but what we met when we were born is a man's world. It was a man's world, and if it's a man's world, you are thought to take responsibility because the woman is part of your responsibility.
Right.
But in doing that, also what we now did was to compromise because we didn't fully understand what humanity is all about.
Yeah.
And that's why consistently, now part of that narrative is a man is logical. A woman is emotional. That's why a boy is not supposed to cry. So we now begin to question, why do we have men who beat their wives? A man who did not express emotion, right? When things don't go their way, he's going to react because he's not been taught to know that it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to externalize emotion. So when we ask that question, we should check and ask, how did we raise this boy? Right. Because growing up, a boy can go play, and parents will say, after all, he can't get pregnant, but they forget I can impregnate someone. So it's
because they'll tell the girl, if a boy should just touch you like this, parents are pregnant.
A boy never gets any sexuality education. So it's a mode that we were made to fit in. and it's a software and a training program that trained all of us.
Right.
So at the end of the day, very, very few boys found their way into the kitchen. The girl was prepared to go and end up in that same boy's house, who you're allowed to stray and go and play soccer and do all those kind of things, who you did not allow to cry, because boys don't cry, men don't cry, and things like that. In fact, I remember on the assembly ground, when they are beating you as
If you cry,
you dare not cry. So we are now asking, is married but it's secretive. Not knowing that those are systems that brought, you taught him, literally scripted him to be secretive, to say pretend. So when the guy gets married and is manifesting dual behavior, you call him hypocrite. But you are not looking at how he was raised all his life to pretend that it's not painful when it's painful, right? So all these things are foundational. We never know how these things play out in adulthood, but they were seed, because you cannot harvest what was not sown. It was a seed that was planted in childhood that we are harvesting in adulthood, but we'll not pretend as if we didn't plant that seed, and so we now say, he's a devil, there is a child of the devil, he's an hypocrite, he's a bad man. No, he cannot be a bad man, because a good tree does not produce bad fruit. So you need to check the tree, the fruit was the seed was compromised, and it now grew. In fact, for lack of a better word, it was genetically modified. So it now had dual nature. He has the capacity to be good on one hand, then to be bad on the other hand. So even when he's dying, he cannot externalize. When he has affection for another lady, right, he can't even tell his wife that I started liking someone else, because that training of when we are beating you are being beaten on the assembly, but you have to pretend as if, because you cannot cry in front of ladies, right? How
does that feeling translate into secrecy?
Because it's what it is.
Right.
You are being beaten.
Right.
It's painful.
Yeah.
The normal response is cry.
Right.
But you are supposed to pretend as if, no, you are a big boy.
Right.
It's not paining you.
Right.
So once you take someone, remember that the way the human brain works.
Yeah.
When your brain feels anything that is pleasurable or painful, it longs for repeat performance.
Yes.
Now, the more you train your brain to do a particular thing, to believe something, you create a neural pathway that it's like a program that once there's a trigger, it runs its full course.
Right.
There are so many people who don't plan to lie, but because they have been scripted to lie and to pretend, once the trigger looks like pain, he runs his full course. He would have lied, and he goes back to say, God, I'm sorry, I've told a lie. But it doesn't mean it's not still going to tell another lie tomorrow, because we never created an environment for him to be honest. To say, you know what, I have fallen, let me cry, I'm a child. Every child,
when he does something not,
you say you are a boy, you are a boys don't do that. You be a man. You man up. Man up is don't be vulnerable. Man up is don't speak your truth, right? Speak what is acceptable, that reinforce your identity as a man, because a man does not have problems. A man does not cry. A man does not fall sick.
Guys,
so
Sunday service. And that's also, I'm sorry, but I'm going to say this. That's why a lot of men die quickly.
Oh yes.
Because rather than going to the hospital, you say, are you not feeling well? Let's go to the hospital. I'm okay.
Because that's the way we were raised.
But go to the hospital. Women will go.
That's the way they were raised. You don't want how many men are dying. They are sick, but they are dying because they are thinking of their family. They are thinking of their children's school fees. They are literally dying. They should literally leave work for like 1 year. But it's thinking house rent. It's thinking, so it's managing. It can't even rest. So, and that's why statistically you find that a lot of men die younger, die faster than their wives at the end, because a woman can easily talk, and call her and say,
no, that's another thing, right? Men believe that their problems should they've also been trained that they should suck up their problem and suck in their problems, and not come out to say, I need help.
Because it's the same way the school system, check our guys now. If a guy flunks a test at school, what did they do? They brought him out and they asked people to sing Olodo Rabata, Ojo Ejalo Mo. They shamed him. They and say how tall you are. You don't know this. As if it's a curse to make mistake. It's a curse not to know something. So you have to pretend as if you knew. So we had a lot of boys way back who couldn't even read, but they had to pretend as if they could read. So they were taught to dress up, to buff up, to look like. That's why you see a lot of men appearing to be rich who are not rich. Because it's a system that takes your identity away from you and punishes you for being you. So you are forced to fit into the mode of societal expectation of who a man is. And that's why you see a lot of men are dying in silence. They can't speak up to say. So let's say it begins to have, he just realized, let's take pedophiles, for example. He notices that he begins to have feelings for children.
A young boy.
Ideally, the right thing to do is to cry out, Egbamio, why am I feeling like this? But who will understand? Right? Because from his child,
understand and not shame
and
him.
not shame him.
Him.
What will be the response? He's supposed to be a man, so he tries to pretend I can handle it. He probably would have even prayed and fasted. I can handle this thing on my own. But he finds himself consistently violated first time. It's like, I will not do it again. I man up. Motivate yourself. At the end of the day, it becomes a breaking news. So we need to begin to we need to change the scripting that we're using to raise boys, and now understand that a boy is a human being that is growing. When we see it that way, it changes the dynamics to say there are appropriate behavior, age appropriate, right? And you don't shame him for being a human being. So he bedwets. A girl will probably not be beaten for bedwetting till they 10, but if he bedwets,
Are you saying 10? 18.
at 4, you begin to say you are a man, you are totally, so your wife will be laughing. You are already introducing what he doesn't even understand. So at the end of the day, you have an entire generation of men who are totally messed up by also. Yet, when they now malfunction in adulthood, we also come out to condemn them and now say he's a bad man. He's a bad man. So when some ladies say all men are scum, I'm asking, who raised these men as boys? They passed through a lady, a mother, and a father. Probably the father was also destroyed. So it's not, there is nobody with monopoly of destruction or something. The same way ladies are messed up, it's the same way boys are messed up. And so we talk about me too. If men begin to start their own me too,
we won't stop.
The world we born. Because names of aunties, names of house girls, names of ladies that you would respect, who deflower these boys, mess them up, I mean,
and uncle.
And the boys can't share their story, because again, you have to pretend, don't scatter ground, don't scatter whatever, because who even believe? You have a long list of men whose wives are beating them. They can't report to say my wife is beating me, or my wife is beating me because society says.
So that, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up, because what part of what we're discussing today is protecting the innocence
of
and the future of the boy child. Because
okay, I think we have your guest. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm so sorry. It's been crazy. Trying to.
Oh my goodness.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening,
everyone.
Good evening.
Okay.
I hope it's going to last.
Hi.
Hello.
I hope.
Okay, so
like it's been crazy here trying to connect in, but I'm glad I'm here.
Thank you for joining us. We started the conversation already, so you can join us. And take it from where we left off.
Yeah. So okay, I think my big head is covering her face.
Oh yeah, I'm just trying to get you in.
No, it's okay. So joining us now is Nkechi Macaulay. She is the founder of the Boys. She's the founder of the Boys Lives Matter Foundation. and it's an organization that's created to bring awareness about sexual abuse of the boy child and educate boys on sexuality education, promote positive values in them as well. So yeah, this is Nkechi Macaulay. Thank you for joining us and welcome.
Yeah.
If you can hear us.
I'm so glad I'm here. I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad.
So
Can you hear me?
I think yes, we can hear you. There's a bit of delay, but we can hear you.
Okay.
So the first question that I would like to ask is, why did you start Boys Lives Matter? Why did you found the foundation?
Yeah, I gotta be asked that question like every time I'm being interviewed, and it's simply an amazing walk. I'm a single mother with a son. When I had my son as a single mom, I lost my husband years ago, so I was trying to raise my son right, and I began to do a lot of research, a lot of studying, and then I stumbled on boys' sexual abuse. And it was, wow, it blew me crazy. And then I began to do radio shows. I'm also a journalist with Radio Nigeria. So I began to do more talks on boys' sexual abuse. And it was so amazing to learn that a lot of boys and a lot of men have been sexually abused. And so I said to myself, hey, we have to talk about this issue. I have to create the awareness. I have to let parents know about it. And I began Boys Lives Matter Foundation. And I've been going to school talking to boys, and it's been absolutely fantastic to learn so much about the boy child. And in regards to their sexual health, that's one aspect that we don't talk about when it comes to boys. We don't look at their sexual health, and it's so key. And if we begin to pay attention to boys' sexual health, then we can cut sexual violence to a greater measure. So this drove me into boys' advocacy. And I've been doing it with so much passion, with so much fervor, and it's been an amazing journey.
Awesome. So let's just dive right into it. So what
Can you all hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. At what age do we start to talk to boys about their sexuality? Did she hear me?
Is she there?
Hi, Kichi, are you there?
She's frozen.
Oh.
What? Yes.
Wow.
Conversation.
I've been asked that kind of question over and over again. Now I tell myself that the moment you give birth to a son and is able to understand what you're saying to him, you can start that conversation. Now, the age range, I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay, keep going.
I can hear you.
Keep going.
I can hear you perfectly well.
We can hear you. So keep going. We can hear you.
Can I go on? You had
Yes,
asked
please.
me about the age. What age can we talk to our boys about their sexuality? That was your question.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Can I go on?
Yes, go on.
Please go on.
Please go on.
It's the
Can I go on?
Yeah.
Can I go on?
Yes.
Yes, you can.
Yes, go on.
I think what we might have to do is maybe do a separate interview with her
Okay.
and then
Okay,
post
you
that
had
on.
asked me the question, at what age can parents talk to their boys about their... Okay, go,
Yes,
go.
so what
Now, all right. Now, when I began the advocacy, I realized that as kids as young as 2 go through sexual abuse. Now, hello?
Okay.
Kichi, we can hear
Can
you.
you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just keep going.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay. Maybe we should try this another time.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Can I go on? Can you hear me?
Yes, you can. Line
She
is
can't.
line is fine,
She's gotta.
yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Apologies for that, guys.
We'll bring her back.
We'll bring her back. We'll probably just do a separate interview just so that we can,
Can I go on?
Give it.
So I
some
said
base.
that boys at the age of.
The
Can
delay
I
is
go
crazy.
on?
The delay is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. So we.
Yeah. Let's keep talking here. So yes, PF.
Yeah.
What age, at what age do you suggest that we start to speak to our children about their sexuality, especially the boys? I mean, I know I started with my small one maybe around 2, when she started to notice that she had a different sexual part than the boys in the house. And so I told her women have vaginas and men have penises. And yes, and so that conversation.
Well,
Went that way.
it's something that I've thought over the years. I incidentally I created the first basic sexual education kit in the country, and it's the same for both girls and boys. The moment your child starts talking, that's the right time to start teaching sexuality education. So we can put it safely at 18 months, basically.
Oh.
Yeah. So it's called age appropriate sexuality education. So there's what to teach from ages 18 months to 3. We call it My Body and I.
Okay.
Now, My Body and I, you use games and songs. I mean, so I literally wrote an entire album that parents can use to teach that. So you teach about the body part.
Right.
You teach about
The
the public parts and the private part of the body. Now, even though there's a school of thought that believes that every part of a child is private, they are correct. It's just that if you don't also differentiate it, a child will begin to say to the parents, "Don't touch any part of my body." So, but for safety reason, we always say public part and private part. Now, you need to mention the private part by the proper name. Penis is penis.
Right.
Don't call it
son-
not PP.
it's not PP. It's not jumbo jumbo. It's not kokoro and all those. Jumbo jumbo. You say
that what they call
yeah, jumbo jumbo.
Really?
Yeah, it's not. It's what it is.
Penis.
So you call it penis. And then you teach your children about what to do to your private part. You need to police and protect. Because the strength of the predator is the ignorance of a child, and the fact that he knows that you're not going to teach anything except boy child. And a lot of boy child were sodomized. So when you see the surge in the same sex, whatever in Nigeria, many of them were sodomized, especially in the boarding house. Because there's a concept called fokarama. Right now, fokarama is what has replaced school father, school son. Is the pederasty kind of situation where school father doesn't just protect the school son. The reward is also that he can sodomize the school son.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's huge in a lot of our schools right now. So almost all the boarding houses. So
It's called Fokarama.
fokarama, yeah. So it's like the welcome party is like So it's a major issue.
Hey!
No, you have to break this thing down. Welcome party for what? Of what?
of sodomy. Yeah, so it's like what do you call it? Is it an OG or something?
Yeah, OG, yes.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Right.
So it happens, and I asked some of the boys, why didn't you report? They said, if you report, you're dead.
You're dead.
So that's an entire generation of boys who are being sodomized who are going to become same sex
In boarding house.
in boarding
Like,
houses.
our parents are home thinking
Yeah.
I've sent my
To
son
go and
my
be
son to
Yeah,
independent.
you get so it's if you don't have a child, I always say to parents, don't send your child to the boarding house unless you have built your child to become a proper ambassador of your family, and you must have tested it. The fact that your child is expressive and can report
Speak
and can
quickly.
speak about
Yeah.
everything and anything, because some of those children go to boarding houses as extrovert, they come back introverted.
Yeah.
Their parents think now you are mature.
Now you are.
You don't know what has happened to that child.
Yeah.
So you teach those critical body parts and the private parts and what to do. Then from ages 4 to 6, you teach what we call awareness and curiosity and high. Because at that age, your boy child is asking questions. Daddy, why are you tall? Why am I short? Why do you have penis? Why does this person, So you need to teach the 4 golden rules of the body at that age. Rule number 1 is also a song. Says, my body belongs to me and also belongs to God. Rule number 2 says I must report to my dad and mommy whatever happens to me. Rule number 3 says I have a right to say no to whatever I feel is wrong.
Right.
And rule 4 says anyone that says I should not talk wants to destroy my future.
Yeah.
So you need to teach your child, and while teaching your child, you also need to close mark the child and keep a proper relationship with the child. Because if you don't keep a relationship, the predators, they groom the children
Secrecy.
because they are the ones who are nice when you are mean. So when you cash out on your child, the predator is the one who says, "Oh, don't mind, don't mind them. But I love you." So your child becomes very vulnerable to that. So you don't want to create that space. So lies of the predator to your child. The predator's lies include daddy will die, mommy will die, they wouldn't believe you, and all other things like that. So you need to teach that.
It's same to snitch in boarding house.
Oh yes,
Really?
yes. Oh yes.
I didn't know.
So you teach that at that age as well. Then by the time you move to preteens, you begin to teach what we call puberty and self-esteem, because the boy child never gets any sexuality education. So you need to begin to teach him and prepare him about the changes in his body and all. Then at that age, there's what we call sexual myth and lies, which has gotten a lot of boys into trouble. And some of the myths include accumulation of sperm can cause backache. You need to tell the child that it is that it is laziness and lack of exercise that is causing backache and not accumulation of sperm. That if you don't have sex, you might be going and you just bust and you just die and things like that. So those are myths, and those myths still exist. That if you don't have sex now, if sex is a means to exercise your penis and all those kind of things. So you need to teach that to your boy. So you teach sex myth, then you will now begin to teach things like a proper definition for sex, for breast, because a lot of boys talk about female breast in their teenage years. It's a major talking point among boys about female breast. Say, oh, go and suck her breast, go and touch the breast. Once you touch her breast, she'll be ready to have sex and all those kind of things. So you want to teach all those things.
You also want to teach them when they're touching girls and they say stop.
Oh yes, that's
stop.
Because stop is stop right now. Because again, if you're a boy, you have a girlfriend way back and you have not slept with her. You are almost like an object of ridicule amidst your peers. They say, they'll call you all kinds of names. They'll say maybe you're impotent and all this kind of. In fact, there are girls who will shame you as well and all. So you need to and because again, I tell people that sexuality education is not even enough. The big issue is the identity of your child.
Yes.
Right.
I'm sorry. Before you continue, because I wanted to say, look, all these things are wonderful to say. Like we need to then get into the how do we protect their innocence.
Because the identity of your child, every misbehavior can be traced to two things: either a non-discovery of self or a non-remembrance of self. If you don't know who you are, you mess up. If you forget who you are, you mess up. Unfortunately, parents who have no identity are raising children,
of course. So
they're not going to have an identity because. But if you look, you can literally, I can literally tell you how you see your child based on the way you treat your child and the way you talk to your child, right? Because many parents have no respect for the child. You don't know that the child has an esteem, he has an emotion.
Dignity,
So you strip him of his dignity, starting from the small meat, treat the child, to the way you correct the child. So that is guilty of the same thing you are beating the child for. So it looks like the child is the only one who should receive beating in the house and all those kind of things. So by ourselves, we strip our children of their dignity and their identity. And once someone has lost his dignity, it becomes susceptible to all kinds of evil works and whatever.
So I'm going to ask this question, because we're talking about raising children, right?
Raising boys.
Raising boys. Let's go to boys. What's the fine line between training a child and bullying a child?
Again, it's
what's that line to be able to say, don't do this? Whether I'm doing it or not, it doesn't matter. But I'm saying that you must not do this. And which is like monologue, right?
It depends on the age.
Dialogue.
It depends on the age your child is. If you say to a 5-year-old, don't do it when you are doing it, they learn from what they see you do. They're going to do it.
I was going to say,
and if you say don't do it, they're going to do it in secret. So by yourself, you teach them secrecy again. So whatever you don't want them to do, don't do it.
So it starts from the parents.
It starts from you. If you don't read, they're not going to read. If you're always on your phone and you say they should keep up their phone, they won't listen to you. So it starts from you. You can. A lot of parents bully their children because they don't. Again, we've said on this show, they don't understand the difference between discipline and domestication. Bullying is domestication, and punishment is actually killing your child. So for those of you who are just joining us, yeah.
Can you explain?
So there are three words: discipline, domestication, and punishment. The word discipline is the Latin word disciplina. It means to groom, to train, to free, and to disciple. Right. Those are the words. Now, so within the context of discipline, there's no slapping, there's no yelling, there's no bullying. It doesn't exist within the context of discipline. There's another word called domestication. The word domestication is Latin word domesticatus. It means to tame, to clip wings. So, and you know, a lot of our parents say, I'm going to clip, you can't grow wings.
Yes.
So in their mind is discipline, but it's domestication.
Tell his story.
Yeah, I'll clip your wings. So it's domestication to say, you know what, and that's why by the time you finish domesticating a child, it loses confidence. You now say it's well behaved, it's well tamed, it's not well behaved, it's been well tamed. So then the third word is punishment, which is the Latin word punire. Punishment means to avenge and to inflict pain. So when you look at the meaning of punishment and domestication, you see what our parents were doing to us. They never disciplined us. They domesticated us and they punished us. Yeah.
Wow. I'm kind of a little speechless at the moment.
So coming, but let's come back.
Let's come back home.
So how do you then, you know, I mean, of course, we know the fact that first the parent, and I think it's something that a lot of us adults need to really go back and sit down and think about, right? The first thing is that who are we? Do we even know our own identity? To then even be raising children in the first place, right? So because if you're not sure of who you are and where you are and all those things, raising a child is putting that same
absolutely
in that child.
Absolutely.
So let's now say, okay, we've gotten to a point where we now have children, okay, and we're where we are. How do we then start to right some of the wrongs that our parents did for us? Because I know we're victims of victims. How do we do things differently?
But you need to first heal. You know, I mean, you have been through the new rules of parenting, so you know the first class is about healing. Because if you don't, the pain that was inflicted on you is what you are inflicting on your child. You are a PhD holder from the school of your parents. So you will naturally output what they do. You will have their worldview about things. You know, that if you can accurately interpret the signal your child is sending, you're going to damage the child. You know, so unfortunately, we are not being scripted to observe, and we are not patient. In fact, I told a parent that who is a Christian that your child is revealing your lack of fruit of the spirit to you. Based on the way you are treating your child, because the fruit of the spirit is love, patience, love, kind. Joy, you are not exhibiting all those things. So you say you are. So if your child is bringing out the worst in you, it's because the worst exists in you. Right? Because if anger does not exist in me, no matter how much you squeeze me, if you squeeze me now and beat me, I will not call myself Yekini. I will not, because there's no Yekini. I won't respond to you until you mention praise. I won't respond because there's no Yekini in me. You understand? So we need to begin to admit that your child is only bringing out what exists in you. And many of us, we were not taught to settle issues through communication. It's through bullying. And we react. We don't.
Not discipline,
punishment and domestic. So the first thing is, who is your child? How do you see that child? If I say you to find a descriptive word, we call it perceptual code, to describe your child, what would it be? So if I say my child is dash, what would it be for you? So if you say your child is dash, check the way you're treating your child. You realize that dash, if you say my child is a criminal, check your treatment. You will find out that you're treating like a criminal. So that's the way you see your child. That's the way you see your child. You can't say my child is a king or my child is a royalty, and you are slapping and you are shy, and you even brag it. You say, in the days of your Abara, Ibati, Omorogu. You know, we say all those kind of funny things. Say Ibamu, Ibati, and all those things. Who treats now? If you met the Queen of England, if you met the Queen of England slapping Prince Charles or Harry like that, you will know those guys are not royalties. Because so in our bid we are covering our lack of effective communication.
Yeah.
We have not mastered how to have a proper conversation, an average Nigerian conversation.
All we have is monologue.
Yes, we can't.
We've not been
And in our conversational style, we are not fact finding. We are accusatory, right? And we assume a lot. So you have seen a child is done something. The first question you should ask is not before even why. Who are you? That's what I had. First question I asked my son. Anything he does, who are you? He says I'm a king. Okay, so why will the king do this? Because every time he does something that is wrong, it's an opportunity to remind him of his identity. Because the society is designed to strip him of his identity, to make him compare himself with other people, to make him feel incapable, insufficient. That's where society is designed. So it's your job to remind him in love, bring him back to his senses. So now say, oh, this is who I am. A king is not supposed to do this. Now you simulate that when next this thing happens, how are you going to respond to it? Right? But you are pretending not to know that child is a child that is growing. There are things you as an adult you have not mastered. Nobody is beating you, right? Nobody is shouting. And in fact, we have a lot of husbands right now. Their wife can't talk to them. They will still do what they want to do. But they want a child to obey them. Meanwhile, the child is just a mirror of what you have modeled for him, right? So you are afraid of your shadow. You are now beating your shadow because you don't want your shadow to become like you. Meanwhile, your shadow is you. So
this thing that you're saying,
what is your shadow?
Hang on, this thing that you're saying, it's not just children that it relates to. It's so many other things.
Oh yeah.
So it's
What story are you about to tell?
So our housekeeper, right? Sometimes she has this look on her face like she's not interested. She can't be bothered. Even if she will call her and she will answer and whatnot, but she just can't be. Sometimes she can't be bothered. So one day we came back and mommy was like, that this that she has told her that she should stop frowning around her. I said, mommy, is it your face?
Abi? Is it your face?
Is it your face? I don't see it, oh. I don't like. I see her. Even in the midst of that, I will give her one look and she will smile, and I will carry on with carry on what I'm doing.
Most times it's our pattern,
And so I'm like, see, there are some things that if it's not disturbed, like you shouldn't even allow it to disturb you. You shouldn't at all. Best can be advise her to say smile. Or when you want
even at that.
But I mean, even at that, why carry? She's not smiling, and then she's doing what you've asked her to do.
Oftentimes it's not even that. So let's say we are very worried about the behavior of our children, not because we don't even have the capacity to handle it. But what we are really worried about is what other people would say. As if our life is on Big Brother and everyone is watching. Not minding what those other people are also going through.
No, it's because you know that your children are a reflection of you.
Yeah, but those other people, they are not members of it. They also have bigger issues. And you see,
I think I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I think it's going back to first of all saying having family values.
Oh yes.
The last time we spoke, we were saying, yes, there are unsaid rules in different families. However, I think the children have just taken it because mommy said so or daddy said so. It's not that they're engraved in it, number one. Two, they're not part of the creation of it. So because they're not part of it, and we haven't taught them enough to be part of it and understand it. So what then happens is that when they're not with you, they're an entirely different.
That never beat a child for what you have not taught him. Two, never beat a child without giving him room to assimilate what you have taught him. Because he needs room. Three, never beat a child, when you are hungry because you damage the child. Right. So I say to parents, no matter how angry you are, read the Lord's Prayer or read Psalm 23. When you calm down, then no. Okay, then number 4, never beat a child when there is no proof that beating can solve that behavior. Number 5, never beat a child when there is another disciplinary measure outside of beating. Right? You could have used. And number 6, never beat a child without agreeing with the child prior to the time the offense is committed. The disciplinary measure for that offense is beating. Then 7, never beat a child without giving him room to defend himself. Because by defending himself, you may find something else that you have not seen before.
Right.
Now, if you now find those, after answering those 7,
And
you still feel you then beat.
Then beat.
Do you understand?
That's 7
So-
steps, eh?
So by the time you have, by the time, maybe even after asking question 1 or asking yourself question 1, you realize that
The child can even turn around and say, "Dad, but Daddy was you know,
Yeah.
Daddy,
Yeah.
I saw you do it."
I
you
don't,
know?
I don't, you see, a lot of us don't communicate accurately. So you say to your child, go and lay your bed, right? That's an instruction. Then you get there, you say, he didn't lay the bed. The boy actually laid the bed to the best of his ability because you didn't tell him how to lay the bed.
Right.
So the bed still look rumpled. To him, he has laid the bed, right? Then you now get there, you now begin to beat.
Beat the
You
child.
say, you didn't lay the bed.
Yeah,
You are now
beat the
lying.
child.
The child begins to cry. I'm not lying. I laid this bed. But you have never taught him. You are assuming he knows how to lay the bed. You've never taught him how to lay the bed. So, and these are, that's why some children hate their parents. To say, you now say he's lying. He did not lie. But because there is no evidence, because the boy actually laid the bed according to his personality and according to his understanding. Because the way a creative converter will lay the bed is different from the way a systematic forward will lay the bed. So the child just lay the bed, and meanwhile you don't even lay your bed to start with, you know.
That's even taking it from.
So why are you saying the child should go? So many a time you are, you see the way. So you have not taught your child how to use a cutlery. You now go and visit someone. The child is fumbling. You are now using eyes. Are you just going to start training the child there, right? You are telling the child is hungry. You are saying he should pretend that he's not hungry. He should not collect food. Meanwhile, the rice of party has a special
firewood taste.
So, I mean, I was going to ask, if society bias is contributing to raising broken men, and I think by virtue of all the things that we've been discussing, it seems as if society bias. But I think I want to dovetail into something that I call male privilege. We don't talk about it,
Right.
Which is because you're a guy or you're a boy, I want to bring it to the conversation that we're having.
Right.
Because male privilege works in different
works
ways
all over the world, actually.
and it works all over the world. I mean, you've got the white male privilege,
Yeah.
black male. I don't know if there's
Even female in football. So take for instance in football, American football, in fact, became a bigger issue. The American male football team is one of the most useless teams in the world. Every World Cup they've gone to, the highest they have been to is quarterfinals. The female have won almost all the World Cups except for a few. But when the male is going to the World Cup, it's chartered plane. The female will fly commercial. And the female end way lower. So now I think
they're raising
the issues, you know. So it's male privilege because you have penis doesn't make you superior.
So
you know.
That's male privilege. Looking at the future.
Right.
Merge that with whether boys should be parented a special way.
Right.
Is that if boys are being treated a special way, or if they're parented a special? Because I'm asking now if boys should be parented in a special way to be able to groom the men that we want to see in the future.
I don't think.
But how do we eliminate this male privilege?
I don't think. Well, again, yes, it seems that there's male privilege, but
Because it's a man's world. They say.
it's a man's world, they say. But I don't think I see that,
That's you.
and I'll tell you why. My mom did not show us male privilege, as it were. Yeah, you could see it in my dad, but my mom put everyone in the kitchen. You know, my mom made me pound yam. My mom made me bake. My mom made me do all those things. You know, growing up. So, and I had 4 sisters ahead of me. Yet I was the one that would wash plates. I was the one that would cook. You know, I literally prepared everything. You know, growing up. Yeah, there was a time they were doing it, but as I grew, my mom put me in the kitchen straight up. So, I mean, she taught me that, I mean, through her life, through the things where I was scripted, that, hey, boys and girls are the same, as far as my mom is concerned, you know. So that was what I saw. So that's why, I mean, in my home, there is nothing called male privilege. Everybody cooks. You know, daddy cooks, you wash your plate, you can dump your, it doesn't, we don't have anything like looks like male privilege or whatever. You know, there's nothing like that. So again, it depends on how you,
parenting.
on the parenting.
But that's what I'm saying. But that you're special.
Who says who?
No, but you're special. So I'm equation.
Yeah, but
But it's something that should
is
be
the way the
addressed.
world is scripted. I mean, even check the Bible. You will read the Holy Book. Check the Quran. How many women were disciples of Jesus? How many?
So it's years,
you know,
hundreds and
so the society.
centuries of years.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's the traditional roles that we met, and those traditional roles were taken to another level, wherein all a woman was taught. I mean, all the thought that a woman could do was to make babies and take care of the house. So when did women even started becoming board chairmen, even becoming board members? In fact, I went to the US one year and someone was taking us on a tour, and he said as of the year 1900 or 1899 that women were not allowed to wear trousers into a bank. The same United States of America, you know, even in England, you know. So these things have been in ages, right? And it's because we have never agreed definition of male and female. Once we begin to push the definition that says a female is a feminine expression of humanity, a male is a masculine expression of humanity, where of man, where man is humanity. Once that is what we are teaching, what we are pushing, we're going to change all of these things. Then it will now not. And interestingly, the hypocrisy of our culture is the fact that embedded in our culture are ideologies that promote, you know, gender equality. So there's a Yoruba adage that says, you know, let a man see the snake, let a woman kill the snake, let the snake die is what matters, right? And that's a classic adage of gender equality, you know. But we will still turn around again to say a man can marry 5, a woman cannot marry 2, and all these things. So once the fundamentals of any concept is wrongly defined, it would affect the way that thing is used. So if I look at you, and I mean, which happens all the time, if you board public transportation, you hear the bus conductors, you know, the way they treat women and say, I have your type at home. What does that mean? You have my type at home, you know. You get. Now, the moment I look at a human being without communicating, I just look at her, okay, she's got breast, I've got penis, and I assume that I'm superior, that I know more than her. I call it one of the symptoms of mental health problem. It's a symptom.
I kind of agree.
It's a symptom of that you have mental health problem.
You have issues.
Because something just tells you. Yeah, of course, because of the kind of girls you have met, you know, before now, you know, so you just assume that every girl is. So they say our president does not shake women. When the Queen of England, I mean, when the Prime Minister of England that came to Nigeria, women, the guy shook hand. They say all our leaders, they don't bow. I said, so these guys can bow, you know. So it's the type of women they've been interacting with.
So that's now another thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's how they see,
how they respect, you know, and how women also carry themselves sometimes, you know. So what we need is, if we begin to define things accurately, then, so I mean, you look at our educational books, you know, the woman's job is to stay at home and cook. Daddy's job is to.
They teach them in school.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I was waiting for us to get to have this, you know, to talk about this before our time rose out.
I'm of the opinion that male and female kids should be raised differently in specific areas. Please, can you highlight those areas?
Yes.
There were rules and
there were rules put in place by men who were selfish, who want to always be in control.
Okay, I think that's correct as well.
And somebody was also asking that, can you please repeat the 7 steps before you beat your child? But before you explain that, so regarding education, right, regarding schools, you know, I was having a conversation with mommy yesterday. We're like, look, we think, you know, that the curriculum school curriculums need to change.
It needs to change, but it can't. It can't change.
Well, change in the sense that certain things need to be included.
Do you know? How books are approved?
Sure. I know the.
Sometimes, if you tip Ministry of Education, they will approve your book.
I know.
It doesn't matter what is inside.
I'm not talking about books. I'm talking about curriculum.
What do you mean curriculum? Do we have curriculum?
We have curriculum.
What do you mean?
There's a curriculum department. What do you mean?
What curriculum department? Now, let me show you why we don't have curriculum. Now, every same educational system will ask 3 questions. 2 actually, maybe a third one. Who do we want our people to become? Want them to think, and what do we need to do to achieve those 2? Is when they answer that question that they design the curriculum. And so you can see by the dictates, because curriculum is powerful. That's why it's called a subject. Subject is to subject you to become subjected to what you have been subjected to. So you are going to live within, you are going to become a subject to that curriculum. That's what it means. So if you check our curriculum, to answer that question is designed to produce confused people. That by the time you are done with this curriculum, your esteem would have been taken away.
With everything.
You will be confused about what to do with your life.
So it goes, education is part of it.
Yes, so we now need to sit down and say, who do we want a Nigerian to be? How do you want him to think? Because that is what determines. That's why in Finland, it is those that cannot make teachers training who go and become lawyers and doctors, as in you can't meet the cutoff.
Wow.
Yes.
That high.
It's the highest. Right? So you can't meet the cutoff for teaching and the lawyers. In India, you cannot become a permanent secretary if you don't have a first class. So imagine an Indian PAMSEC having a meeting with a Nigerian PAMSEC.
Oh.
So you don't just have a political officer in the room. You have an intellectual firepower.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So he's talking IT, this one is talking Ikebe Super. You know, so you can see how intentional these nations are. India, I mean, Chinese educational is crazy. Japanese educational system is built on Japanese values. That's why from grade 4, there are no school cleaners. The children are the ones who clean. They are not school cleaners. That's why you see Japanese fans at the World Cup cleaning stadium after a football match. It's scripted into the educational system.
It's embedded.
So they are in fact, the values is taught from home. The educational system is built on it. So what is Nigeria?
Okay, so until we get to the Nigerian value,
but you see,
until we get there, can we start from our family?
The private schools, however, have an opportunity, provided they understand what educational system is all about. Because education is one of the, it is from the word educo, you know, which is, it's the same word that means parenting actually. Even though they deny that we're not parents, right? Because the word parent is to bring forth, education is to bring forth, lead forth, make a child into what. That's what education. So you need to now create, which is why I tell schools that, I mean, when I trouble, many schools can't pass my, because you have a school, for example, I have to get, they don't know, then you don't have a vision. You don't have a vision. Vision is what should determine structure. Right? So what we say, and that's why with the like design an entire curriculum from GSS1 to SS, I know what those students are going to become, because what they would have gone through, they are actually they would have many university students time they are getting to SSC, what they would have gone through. You need to be intentional and be able to measure.
Of course.
We are not measuring. How we check is pass, fail.
What's the
so even we don't have a chance to think. So someone asks the boy, they ask a boy -1. The boy no. So the teacher put a bean cake akara in front of the boys and in the boy's hand. He said, if I give you akara, now 1 akara, and I collect it back, what is left? The boy said oil.
Oh my God.
That was a joke, right? Was that real?
I read the story. Right, but I mean, it must have happened somewhere. But now, look at the educational system. The teacher now, the teacher now beat the boy. Now, because Marking scheme says is 0.
Yes.
But the boy is showing us that there's another answer.
Yes.
Because the boy is right.
Yes,
There's
it's
oil that is left. But it will be marked wrong.
For it. Yeah.
Because we are not giving room to think. That's why we can't question our lecturers and we say it's a school.
Yeah.
And that's why I say, if you notice a behavior, so let's say for Karama, and you suspend, why would you suspend? As an educational institution, you should do root cause analysis, research, and invent solution to the problem.
Yeah.
But
so you can repeat.
So when a school cannot think, and that's the title of learning, what kind of student would they produce?
I had it. My daughter,
you not say they are cramming.
My daughter was doing something. I can't remember. I think I corrected her or something. And she said, "Oh, my teacher said I should mind my business." I said, "In what capacity did she say so?" She mumbled some stuff. So I decided, and she said it like 3 times. And when you tell a child, mind your business, you're almost shutting down their imagination, their curiosity. So I decided to have a conversation with the teacher. So I called the teacher 2 Sundays ago. And I said, my daughter said this thing a couple of times. Even if, yes, I may try and understand in the context you use it in, for a child, it means something entirely different. I said, and so I asked her, can you explain to me how you use this sentence?
Words,
So she told me. So I said, it boiled down to one boy in the class who was a naughty child and a bad child. And instead of, so when people are repeating what the boy is saying, she will say, everybody should mind their business. And so I'm like, first of all, you don't even know that child, you don't even know what that child is. That child, where did he pick up that bad behavior from? He didn't dream of it. It's come from somewhere. I said, have you tried, even first of all, commending the child on some of the things that the child is doing? Even you have condemned the child. You already said the child is a bad child. I said, the child is not bad. He's doing his behavior or the things that he's exhibiting may be bad.
It's actually a troubled child.
Yes, I said, the child is not bad. And so when you then say, everybody mind your business, what that is telling those children is that they should not ask questions. They shouldn't be inquisitive. They shouldn't be curious. And if you take curiosity from a child, what's left? What's left?
They don't know.
So I spoke to her for like 45 minutes. When I was done, she said, "Oh, madam, I've never thought about it the way you said."
You
can tell the child that you can still say to the child, "Mind your business," but they completely different.
And that's the teacher.
Yeah. And that's the teacher teaching children. So imagine because when they said this, she said, no, my teacher said I should mind my business. My teacher said, mind your business. I said,
So you see, when you say no to a child, you don't know how many other things dies in the child.
And I told her, I said, when you say no to a child, you are increasing the child's curiosity to want to do more. Because why you say no? You haven't explained it. You have not discussed it. There's no understanding. You just say, no, don't do that. If you do that again, I will beat you. Then you bring ruler, beat them.
That's bullying.
So at the end of the day, how does that child? How does that child? The child grows up thinking, my teacher said I should mind my business. So even if I see somebody doing something bad, then I will mind my business.
Let me make you laugh. I was teaching a group of. Our time is fast.
Yeah.
I was teaching. We'll continue next week. I was teaching a group of teachers, and I asked them, if a boy comes to your school and he walks past you and he looks at you and says, "Miss Jane," I said, what will be your reaction? And these are top teachers. Say, I'll call the child back and tongue lash him. I said, why? He said, because the child was disrespectful. So I asked, I said, hi, in every part of the world, is it a greeting? He said, yes. Did the child greet you? He said, yes. So I said, is this a school, a Yoruba school? I said, because you are using your Yoruba mind to interpret. I said, what if that child is not even a Yoruba child? I said, so you can see. So when I ask teachers, how many students do you have? And you tell me you have 30, you are failed because you can only have one child. Every child is unique. Once you see it that way, it changes the dynamics of how you relate with the children. And that's the same way we relate with our children, our home as parents, because the concept of parenting is not properly thought. People, and so you see, we raise boys and everybody is be arrogant. I know what to do. I know what I say. See, if you know how much I spend on research on parenting, so it's a whole lot that we need to unpack. Maybe we'll continue this discussion next. Unfortunately, time runs very fast.
Because we didn't even talk about about sexual abuse, and there's something that I find a bit, I don't know, I'm not sure what the word is. Not fascinating, that's not quite the word, but why is it that we only associate gender-based violence to the female gender, as if the male gender don't also suffer
Again,
from
that's
rape and
that's
gender
is on our is
violence
on our
and all
blind
of that?
spot. We don't believe that boys can be raped.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, a lot of boys, in fact, it's almost
If you can't, but
it's almost like 50-50 right now.
Do you understand?
You know,
Yeah, I want to believe that it's about the same. It's
Yeah.
just that the boys are not speaking
they
out.
they don't speak because boys are not
Yeah.
supposed to speak. In fact,
Yeah.
if you go and report to the police, in fact, there are women who rape their husband,
Yes.
but the husband it dare not go.
You can't say it now. We didn't.
I know a group. I know when there was a group that gang raped a boy. I think a group of 4 girls. They gang raped the boy. The boy went to report. His parents to. I mean, well, not adults went to the police station to report. They started laughing. They said, "Oh boy,
You enjoy.
you see, you know where those girls? They've raped
Where
me.
then they?
They've raped me."
Are you
Nobody
kidding?
thinks of trauma. Nobody thinks of the fact that that guy can commit suicide.
Yeah.
You know, they are all they see is enjoyment.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
guys,
I wanted to read something. Gosh, I know time is spent, but this is a story from a young boy. It's on the Boys Lives Matter website. He said that my first experience of molestation was when I was 4 years old at the hands of a relative who was helping in the house. But the experience that almost damaged me beyond repair happened when I was 12. I had gone to a hostel to deliver a message. I didn't meet the person, but I was encouraged by her roommates to wait for her. Unfortunately, all 5 girls in the room took turns raping me. I was tied to the bunk after locking the door. I fell into depression, all females, including my sister and cousins, and I went haywire. I was lucky enough eventually to meet someone who touched me in ways I couldn't imagine and made me whole again, which is now my wife.
see?
Wow.
It
So,
is,
can't-
it is real.
we
and
can't talk about this
until we start having this dialogue, until we start, making noise, and it's everybody, because even the ones that are saying, "Oh, but I don't have boys, I have girls." But you have cousins, you have nephews, you've got family and friends who have boys as well. Your
Yeah.
your girls are going to grow up to meet the boys that are broken.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's yeah.
Ooh.
I mean, today it's been
Yeah.
So can you please just repeat the steps
7
for the
steps.
last person, for the person who said they wanted the steps? 7 steps.
Never beat a child for what you have not taught him.
Number 1.
Never beat a child without giving him room to assimilate what you have taught him.
2.
Never beat a child when you are angry because you're going to damage the child.
3.
Never beat a child when there is no proof that beating can solve that problem.
4.
Never beat a child when there is another disciplinary measure outside of beating.
5.
Never beat a child without giving him room to defend himself, and never beat a child when you have not discussed the punitive measure, I mean the disciplinary measure before the offense is committed. Yeah. After that, you cannot decide to beat a child.
If after all these efforts,
cannot satisfy, it's not enough.
you cannot beat the child.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow! Oh my gosh! Thank you all guys so much. Is this music for us?
Yes.
You know they take you holiday. You write application, you go for audition.
That's Cobams. We're plenty for there. We are all on this table.
Well, on this table.
Thank you guys. Love you.
Thank you all so much for joining us. And I'll be back in next week. So our guest for the interview with her, I will post it just so we can have the conversation.
Everybody getting late. So my brother, so my sister, no condition lasts forever. I don't want
Thank
to.
you.
So my brother,
Thank you.
so my sister, peace no they come forever. I want peace to come. If you sleep and think that come up, rejoice with them. If the hearts to us are no take no offense. See this life that all my father.